Issue 12. The first panel doesn't create too good of an impression. We have Eggman blatantly telling the audience what they're already being shown anyways, which is garbage dialogue to be blunt. And Sonic having a really terrible fourth line with a pun while breaking the fourth wall by looking at the audience. Also, this could be the first panel to any early Archie Sonic comic issue. Finally, something new happens where Eggman rejoices about giving himself an idea to build a time machine, which I'm sure he'll magically be able to build because there's no limits to what engineer characters can do in the Sonic universe. I'm just gonna pretend that he used a Chaos Emerald to build it, because that would make a lot more sense. Sonic comes into Sally crying as if she was just watching a soap opera. I wonder how there are still soap operas in a world run by Eggman. Well, at least Sally's being joked about for once. Wait, why are there news reports with swap bots of that? Who would be interested in watching TV in Robotropolis? Who is this for? Robots and roboticized people who wouldn't be interested anyways? This seems like a giant waste of money on Eggman's part. The TV reports on the Great Forest being chopped down by droves. By the way, the trees around Nuthole's entrance magically grow back after this story. I'm surprised this hasn't started happening a lot earlier. And just after Sonic runs into Eggman to stop him, he gets sent back to dinosaur times. Why the hell is the pterodactyl able to talk? Seriously, and the dinosaur too. There was no reason for these animals to be able to talk. None whatsoever. They could have just been silent. It always bothers me when what looks like regular animals are able to talk in these comics. Not just Mobians, but regular animals. But how does the dinosaur know that dinosaurs are going to become extinct? Finally, the plot gets interesting as Sonic meets an ancestor of his. We all know by now, or at least people with brains, that people and dinosaurs didn't exist at the same time together, so this is just following a stupid cliche based off of that. We see Eggman as a caveman here too. And he also breaks the fourth wall by talking about robots when they haven't been invented yet. Why does Eggman care that Crab Meat witnessed him celebrating getting rid of Sonic? And why would the Crab Meat care that he broke his own rules when the rule maker would logically be able to break the rules he made? While the freedom fighters all protest Eggman, we cut back to Sonic, who sees a caveman group of freedom fighters. Why are they all living together in this situation? I don't think caveman people would have approved of different species of people living together as part of the same tribe. Although I consider Mobians to all be like one species and different species, like squirrels and coyotes. They're just different races, the Mobian. Sonic encourages his ancestor and his friends to go outside and teaches them to plant what would become the Great Forests. Okay, so if he had to outright tell them to leave the cave, how are they staying alive for so long with no ability to go outside to get food or water? The whole Sonic goes back in time thing is a completely unnecessary origin to the Great Forest. And for all Sonic knew, telling these guys to go outside would have gotten them killed and caused a time paradox. Their descendants would have never been born. This plot makes no sense. Sonic is sent back to his time because his friends swiped the time machine, which I presume they used immediately to prevent Eggman from ever getting to power. Oh, it's never seen again. Never mind. After this, the next story starts with Sonic falling down a cliff, only to land in a soft nest of grass built by a birdman. The man explains that Robotnik turned all of his friends into robots, and he hid to protect himself from that fate, and is expressing disapproval of himself by calling himself a coward. Snively tells Robotnik that his device has picked up traces of non-robot life in the mountains, and Eggman decides to go there, while Sonic tries to convince the old man to fly again and not to give up on life. No, not literally. While failing to understand the fact that hiding is the smartest thing for him to do in that situation. Why the hell has it taken this long for these birds to find each other when they lived on the same mountain for so much time? Sonic shows responsibility by saying he never should have told the Birdman to fly because he might have got himself spotted by Robotnik or a robot. I guess he doesn't know about Eggman's non-robot being locating machine. I wonder how that even works. How would it tell the difference between a living being and a robot? Sonic gets knocked off a cliff by Eggman only to be saved by Cyril or whatever, leaving Snively and Eggman behind. Sonic's last line here makes perfect sense considering he suffered 2 falls in a row that are almost lethal. I like how he saved Sonic at the end. It makes it feel more justified that he was the focus of the story when I couldn't care less about him. We start the next story with Sonic saving some animals from some swap bots. He complains that he actually doesn't find it to be a fun game saving the animals, even though I'd expect him to consider everything he does to be a fun game. Isn't that out of character? I do like that the stories tell me more about how the freedom fighters spend their time, with them all regularly saving animals when robots are sent on a raid. The story is about Sonic meeting an unlucky Lynx, who breaks a tree branch and injures a lot of the freedom fighters. Honestly, I side with Sally here. She has every reason to want to avoid the Lynx, especially since her and her friends are in a desperate situation where they can't afford to spend a lot of time recovering from injuries instead of fighting Eggman. Do they even have access to a hospital? If they had gotten injured badly enough, they would have been pretty much permanently injured and screwed. Sonic characteristically refuses to abandon a friend. The Lynx isn't your friend, it's just some guy you just met. Fortunately, after his real friends get captured by the swap bots, maybe you shouldn't have left them alone, Sonic. Sonic has a brilliant idea to take advantage of the Lynx's bad luck to fight Eggman. So what determines who gets inconvenienced by the bad luck? Sonic sure is lucky that the bad luck inconvenienced Eggman and not him and his friends again. And Sonic somehow knows that the bad luck streak was broken and proves he was right by Larry winning a whole bunch of games of chess against Rotor. I guess he's kind of jealous of Rotor's genius deep down and wants him to lose 50 games of chess in a row just to spite him, I guess. Sonic has a pretty stupid line at the end there. Seriously, what is it with Sonic making puns? If Sonic is supposed to be cool and puns are the definition of not cool, this seems out of character. Okay, so there were 3 full stories in this issue, so there's a lot going on here. Overall, I didn't like it all that much. The first story introduced time travel as a story element. Already that's a big problem. Sonic being the one responsible for the Great Forest in the first place was completely unnecessary. And isn't he already important enough? It insults the audience intelligence having dinosaurs talk, and not dinosaur Mobians, but literal dinosaurs. And there's 2 really big plot holes. One being, why are the cavemen freedom fighters, well, one together at all, no villain taking over the world to fight, but 2, if they refuse to come outside to find food, why are they still alive? And it sure is lucky that going outside didn't kill them, the very thing they're hiding was trying to prevent. And the biggest problem is why the freedom fighters didn't use this time machine against Eggman at all. They could have prevented him from rising to power effortlessly. But for people who care so much about that, it never crossed their minds. The second story focused on some random new character I don't care about because he doesn't really have a personality. Just an old guy who somehow never discovered that his old group of friends were living in the same mountain as him all that time. At least he saved Sonic at one point, but still. I was about to call it pointless, but that's a slippery slope since it could be argued that every story that is episodic and doesn't continue into an overarching storyline is pointless. That doesn't mean it's worthless. I just didn't really care. Maybe the real problem is that it only starred Sonic and some random new guy with no personality or charisma. Sure, it's convenient that the Birdman is able to fly after not being able to fly earlier. I guess he just was strong-willed enough after seeing his flock alive. And the third story, well, it's easily the best one of the 3. A fascinating concept. An unlucky Lynx. And Sonic learns to creatively use the bad luck against Eggman. I never thought of Sonic as creative before reading this comic. Now that I have, this is definitely something I admire about him. This story was written by Michael Gallagher. Honestly, the very first panel make that pretty obvious to me. But I'll have to give the first 2 stories a pass here. Honestly, it might have been better if the first 2 stories didn't exist and it was just a third story but more fleshed out. I think his full story was already told, but I'd like at least to know why the Lynx was unlucky in the first place. Is he from a race of special magical Lynx that are either always really lucky or unlucky depending on arbitrary unknown factors? I hope they're banned for playing the lottery. Or if it's just this one guy, this one short-looking Lynx who looks nothing like what other Lynxes in the series would later on look like. Then was he cursed to be this way, or what? I feel like the plot had something missing from us not knowing the reason behind the whole premise. long as he might experience bad luck of being roboticized, but based on what he says afterwards, he should be used to bad luck against others, not himself.